and welcome back to a great tutorial. Today we're actually going to focus on doing some eye blink physics. So in my first tutorial I covered mostly just blink, but today I want to show you guys how to do blink physics as shown on the left eye. I haven't really done it on the right eye yet. I've just done the highlight physics. However, I want to make sure that y'all know how to do physics-based input for eye highlights and bounces and everything that makes it all fun and jiggly. Anyways, so I start by creating deformers for each piece of the eye that I'd like to move. This includes the eye, the eye fold, I guess that's called, the upper eyelash and the lower eyelash, as well as the pupil itself. Because sometimes if you open and close your eye really fast, you'll notice that your pupil actually kind of contracts and dilates a little bit. So what I do to also start and set myself up is I create 4 different parameters. I create a parameter 1 for the eyelashes and a parameter 2 for the eyelash. Parameter 1 of the pupil, as well as parameter 2 of the pupil. And having a 2-parameter physics can really add a lot of life. Instead of just doing one thing that kind of goes back and forth, it allows it to become more multi-dimensional. So the first thing that I start is with the pupil, and I have 1 parameter that increases the size and 1 parameter that shrinks the size overall. And the way you can best do this is if you hold Alt and then click on one of the edges of the parameter, it allows it to stretch and contract from that center area. And then I have another parameter, which I already kind of did because I'm going so fast, is a kind of like a stretch and squash parameter. And what that does is it allows the pupil itself to have that kind of bouncing motion. And for the eyelash physics, what I did is I just created for the first one like a forward and backwards tilt. I experimented a lot with this, and this was just the one that kind of gave me the best feeling, I guess. So a lot of what I do in Live2D is honestly just experimenting and having fun. But for me, just creating that forward and back tilt of that eyelid crease as well as the upper eyelash, and then I eventually go on and do it for that lower eyelid and eyelash as well. That helps to create that wavy motion, because eventually the second parameter that I'll be creating for the eyelashes and the eye crease is more of an up and down motion. And when you combine those with the proper settings in the physics menu, then you can create more of a wave motion. You have to think of a wave motion as being 2 different parts. One part is side to side and another part is up and down. And once you get into the physics menu and you start working with that little swingy chain down at the bottom. I mean, I don't even have any good words to explain what I'm doing half the time, but I'm just clicking numbers. I'm dragging stuff around. I'm trying to see, hey, does this look good if I change this setting? How about if I change this setting? But these are just the settings that have worked for me so far. So at this point, I've finished my first parameter's worth of work pretty much for the eyelash. And I'll go ahead and start on the next parameter once I finish touching up that bottom eyelash. And I like to check it always against something. If I've already done once, I like to do one side at a time. So that way, if I do the first side, I have a really good reference for the second side as long as I like it. So with this one, you can see that I'm starting to kind of create that up and down wave motion that, when in combination with the side to side rocking, will really create that full wave motion. And that's why 2-parameter physics are so nice in Live2D. Is they allow you, as long as you can think about it and pull a big brain out of nowhere, you can sort of create any kind of motion that you want. I mean, you can even have 3-parameter physics, you can have 4-parameter physics, you can have 5-parameter physics. I mean, for example, for a piece of hair, if you're trying to rig a piece of hair to have a bouncing motion, you can spend 2 parameters with the side-to-side swing, and then create a 3rd parameter that's just a gentle bounce, so you would squish and stretch it at the bottom. And once you put that into the physics menu in Live2D, it actually comes out really cool. And it'll have that bouncing motion. It'll flow side to side still. But it really depends on how you set up the physics. And a lot of physics is just experimentation, if I'm going to be completely honest. So anyways, I'll go ahead and let y'all get back to the rest of the video. And I'll probably show up sometime later. Since now we're in the physics menu, you'll kind of see me moving in and out of the physics menu to make sure that I like how each part is moving individually. But the main thing that you want to know for setting up eye-based physics is you need different settings for both the right eye and the left eye. Now, most people will actually keep on, in a lot of the face tracking programs, the eye symmetry, just because either they wear glasses or their tracker doesn't track their face well enough or their webcam isn't picking up too well, and that's totally fine. However, if you ever want to turn off that symmetry, you need to have them separate to make sure that they each have their own motion. And the setting that I like to use to define this is left eye open or right eye open. And I like to set it as the input, and I choose 50 as the value just because I found that that works the best for me. And at the end of the video, I'll also be sharing all of my physics settings. However, you can see I just mirrored whatever I had for the left side. And once you put it all together, you get a really nice bounce and a really nice wiggle. So each part has its own individual physics. So the upper eyelash and the lower eyelash are together. The pupil has its own physics setting, and the little highlight that moves back and forth in the eye has its own setting as well. And the little highlight is something I did earlier, but it does follow the same rules as everything else in this video. So thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you taking the time to check out this video. If you like this kind of content, feel free to subscribe for more. Thanks, and see you later. Goodbye!